Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. I hope you are all doing well. It's a miserable day outside, so I'm not out and about with my camera today. Sat at home at my desk, muddling through images and doing bits and bobs of work, and I thought I would talk to you guys today about a lens I picked up recently. So just before Christmas, if you don't know already, but I won a competition. I won a competition called Scotland's Photo of the Year with my image, The Storm of Store, and I am still pinching myself about that now. It is absolutely amazing. I'm so thankful. It's crazy. But part of the prize that I won was £500 to spend at Ford Photographic up in Scotland. It's a camera shop. And I bought myself a Sigma 50mm 1.4 art lens with that money. It was £550 I think, or £580, and I bought myself the Sigma 1.4 art lens. So I thought in this video I would talk about this lens, my first impressions, and show you guys a few shots that I've got with it in the time that I've had it. So when this lens turned up and I opened up the box and took it out, my first impressions when I took it out was how well this thing is built. It's really heavy. It's a good chunk. It really does feel good, and you know when you actually get hold of something and it feels really good to touch, and you know something is really well built and constructed properly, you kind of just know. And it's one of those things really. It just feels absolutely perfect. The weight is good, it just feels solid, and the optics are absolutely stunning. This lens is so sharp. It's the sharpest lens I have in my bag. It's going to be, obviously, because it's a prime and I have zoom lenses, but I was blown away by how sharp this thing is. So since moving over to the Lumix system nearly 2 years ago now, actually, yeah, nearly 2 years ago, I haven't had any primes and I haven't had a nifty 50 in my bag. And when I had my Sony systems before, when I had the crop sensor Sonys and I went over to the full frame A7 II, then the A7R2, I had primes for both of those cameras, my full frame and my crop sensor cameras, and nifty 50s in there as well. And I love having a nifty 50 in my bag. It just gives a really nice perspective. It's great for, say, portraiture, it's great for events, and it's really nice having a super fast lens in your bag. And when I say fast, I mean it's fast aperture, so it's got a really fast aperture of 1.4 or 1.8. So this lens has a 1.4 aperture, and it lets in a lot of light, obviously being a 1.4 aperture, and it can come in really handy when you're in, say, dark woodlands. So my favourite lens for woodland photography is that one, the one that you guys are on. It's my 24-105. It's a really good perspective, and I use it mainly in the middle sort of the focal length for around, say, 40 to 60, 70 mil. So I thought the 50mm may come in handy for that sort of situations as well. And often I'm walking through woodlands to get to somewhere else well before sunrise, and sometimes I stumble across compositions and images that may work in, say, wooded areas, and it would be nice to get a lens out and shoot something, say, well into blue hour, say like an hour before sunrise. But having f4 lenses, it can be difficult sometimes, and you have to push the ISO up, and that increases noise. And having an aperture of, say, 1.4 or f2, that sort of area, enables you to get some pretty unique compositions at crazy sort of times of the day. So I actually have been out quite a few times with this lens in my bag. It's actually always in my bag now because it's just nice to have in your bag. And one of my favourite images that I've got so far using the 50mm 1.4 is this one here. So let's jump into Lightroom and have a little look at a few images that I've shot using this lens. So this was shot in a local woodland not too far from me, and this shot was actually shot about 45 minutes before sunrise. So it was very dark in this misty woodland, and I wouldn't have normally been able to shoot this sort of time of day if it wasn't for this lens. The settings were f2.5, 0.8 of a second, ISO 80, so I actually managed to keep my ISO really low. The shutter speed is 0.8 of a second, so reasonably fast, and have an aperture of 2.5 letting in loads of light. So I was very fortunate to grab a shot like this at that time of day, and I'd have struggled using my f4 lenses to get this at that time of day if I didn't have this lens with me. And let's just zoom in. So I focused on this tree here, and it's absolutely razor sharp. The first thing I thought when I got this image back and I actually had a look at it was how sharp this lens really is. So I focused on this main tree here, on the trunk of this tree here, and you can just see the focus drop off into the background, back to this big old tree back here, but it's just beautiful. And the way it drops off is really smooth, everything looks so natural, it's really ethereal. And it really helps when you come to shooting woodland scenes, I find. Often in woodland scenarios a bit like this one, you have, say, a dominant tree, and then you hope for conditions and mist and haze and rain to kind of just soften off the background and make everything look ethereal and mystical. Well, using a lens like this, you can really help emphasize that by stopping it down to, say, a faster aperture and just letting the bokeh fall off into the background. It's kind of like adding a slight autumn effect if you do it properly, and you focus on the right tree, and you can just make everything look really, really nice and very almost cinematic, really. So I have been dabbling as well, shooting some portraiture. So my girlfriend is an actress and she wanted some new headshots for her website the other day. So we cracked out the 50mm 1.4 and we shot some headshots. And using my Lumix S1R auto eye focus, it absolutely nailed focus. So it was focusing on her right eye here, and you can see how sharp this lens is. So this was shot at f2, ISO 400 and 1/160th of a second, and you can see how tack sharp this lens is and how beautiful the bokeh is when it just drops off there onto her shoulder. But it absolutely nailed focus on her eye. And yeah, this lens is razor sharp. It really is razor sharp. And primes are sharp. They are sharp. They're known to be sharp. And if I could have a bag full of primes, I would have a bag full of primes. But due to weight and size, it's just not feasible really for a landscape photographer to have a bag full of primes. But that would be the dream, wouldn't it? Huh? It really would. And also, if we have a look at this shot here as well, I think it was on her left eye. Yeah, there you go there. And you can even see her contact lens in her eye. It's absolutely razor sharp. It really is tack sharp. I hope Primrose doesn't mind me using these images of her, but it just shows off how good this lens is and how tack sharp it is for things like portraiture as well as say woodland and landscape photography. And a 50mm focal length is going to come in handy a lot more for me with my woodland photography. I just find it to be absolutely perfect when you're in those wooded scenes. So yeah, this is the 50mm 1.4 art lens from Sigma. They have a range of lenses. I would like to try the 35mm as well at some point, because I think that would be really good for events in the future when everything gets back to normal. But this one in my bag right now is absolutely perfect. And also for price, I think it was about £580, I think. I didn't ever get the Lumix one because the Lumix one is just over £2 grand for a 50mm prime. And yeah, when Sigma came out with this, I was like, I really need to get my hands on it because, well, you can see by the pictures, it just is absolutely stunning. Yeah, absolutely blown away. Amazing. So that is my Sigma 50mm 1.4 art lens. Absolutely awesome. And I'm going to wrap this one up here. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. A quick look into another lens that I've grabbed recently. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do consider clicking subscribe below. Give us a like. Tell us what you think down in the comments. And I will see you guys in the next one.